What's up? For today, I thought we could try and do something a little different, and I'm going to be speaking about it while I'm going to show you like a, kind of quick demo of me painting gouache, me doing a gouache painting. And as you can tell, I usually don't even have gouache. This is like my girlfriend gave me this kind of basic primary color kit. And I don't usually paint in gouache because I never really painted in gouache. Nobody, ever taught me how to paint in gouache. I never took a class in watercolor gouache. So I don't really feel I'm that good at it. And I thought it was perfect to kind of do a gouache painting while I was speaking about this because I'm uncomfortable when painting in gouache. I actually don't really know what I'm doing, as you can tell by the very sophisticated palette that I'm using. So I thought it was going to be a great companion, and when I say it's going to be a companion when I'm speaking about it, I want to speak about style. Style is probably one of the weirdest concepts in the art world. You can define it very easily, but it's also like incredibly complex. Why can you define it easily? Because if you trace back the word, the concept was actually first understood as manner, as maniera, like in Italian painting. And it was really nice because it was almost all-encompassing initially. Maniera actually spoke about your artistic personality. And I guess you could say nowadays when people kind of search for the meaning or where to find or where style resides, in a very broad sense, you're saying, well, that can be understood as artistic personality. But part of the word manner also meant working in the manner of. So mannerist painters, they worked in the manner of Da Vinci or Raphael or Michelangelo. So part of that artistic personality also meant that, also conceived that you could be working in the manner of other greater, bigger painters, bigger personalities. And you would be kind of using or keeping alive their philosophies. So it was, but and this is the cool part. But it was never just about painting in the manner of, or drawing in the manner of, or executing something in the manner of. You had to, and this was almost like a given, you had to retain that unique artistic personality, And I guess that, in many ways, people still understand that is something that you should strive for when you look for a style. But unfortunately, that is what is lost typically when you're looking for a style. And the reason I think it is lost is because we tend to just feel readily satisfied when we look at an image, and we just kind of digest it very quickly. And we try to interpret why an image is actually successful based on very, very superficial qualities of the image. So those superficial qualities are very important for an image. I mean, when you look at something, when you look at a painting or a drawing, it could be a traditional painting, it could be a painting done in Photoshop, it could be a painting that has an intent, a specific intent, such as an illustration. when you actually, when that painting is fed into your eyes and you digest it very quickly, a lot of those very, very powerful things are kind of right in the surface of the image. They are codes that you can read immediately and that you can kind of tell what the purpose of that image is. So those things are very important. Those symbols are super, super important for any visual artist. But, we have to dig deeper. And I think that's usually what's lost. And it's actually, it should be a desire, but it also should be like an obligation to dig deeper. And we don't do it because we judge an image very hastily. We think that those very powerful codes that we can read very, very quickly are the ones that are making that image successful. So we understand the power of that particular image, which we are moved by, which is eventually going to become, that road that we consider, worth kind of walking in. But what we don't really contemplate, and perhaps we can't contemplate it in the moment we choose to have these images as our guides, is that perhaps that road takes us nowhere. It's a very nice scenic route, but perhaps it just goes round and round. It doesn't really lead us to anything. So while it may be very, very important to recognize that we are moved by certain images, we can't just do half of our homework. The easy part of our homework, which is just saying, "Oh, that is so cool." "Oh, did you see what she did? Like, that is so awesome. Like, I'm just gonna keep it in my computer, like save as," and you have a nice folder where you keep those images that are like so important and dear to you. You almost treasure them. But you become blinded by them. And the most hurtful, and I guess, hurtful is probably the right word, the most hurtful part of this process is letting those images take over your work. Every single thing that, that original person, the OG painter or the OG draftsman did, you're trying to replicate because you are finding efficiency in it. You can recognize immediately how something is gonna kind of end up reading. When you start and you already know the impact the image is gonna have, you already know the potential impact the image is gonna carry, you're kind of safe. You're saying, I know where I'm going because I already know that this style produces this sort of image. And it's hurtful because, time is going to go by and you are going to have spent so much of your energy, you're going to have devoted so much of your attention to other people's, effective work, because many times, those works are, fantastic. Those works excel in many, many levels. But you are going to be just the passenger in all the efforts that they are doing. And you are just going to be this person that in a way speaks of how broad of an impact that image can have. And it is so broad that it's like a tidal wave. It actually carried you, when it swept you, this huge wave that just devoured you, and now you're just going for the ride. So how do we fight that? How do we fight the risk of getting just blindly kind of swept away? The first part is just being conscious, you know. It's just knowing that this is so natural for us to be inclined to become, you know, these just fanatics over other people's successes, that just know that that trap is right there waiting for you. That trap is set and it's ready to go, and you just, you know, at any moment you kind of take your eyes off of it, you're going to step on it. And you know, it's going to be very hard to walk away kind of unharmed from it. So first of all, be conscious that that is something that is intrinsic to the way visual artists interpret, understand, and kind of feed images to our brains. So if we're conscious about it, we're gonna kind of tread very carefully in this terrain. What does that mean? That you can't enjoy other people's works? No, of course not. Of course not. Like, be the biggest fans of other people's works. Be like, wow, that is so cool. And I always kind of tell people, just say something that's kind of like, you know what? I'm glad that you're alive to do that, because that is your path, but that's not mine. You know, mine is going to be something different. But I'm so glad that there's somebody like you doing something like that. You know, I'm glad you exist. That I feel is kind of a nice way of understanding things. And so first be conscious, and then, you know, be grateful. And then we can start by saying, okay, now let me really dissect what's going on here. And when you dissect something, you start saying, okay, what are the superficial, very strong, very attractive qualities of this image? And maybe you can start kind of like pinpoint, you know, you can start pinpointing those qualities, and you can start recognizing those qualities. And then you say, okay, but if we remove this, what is, you know, why am I so moved by this image? Why is it actually kind of working for me? What, you know, why did my gut just react so strongly to it? And then, you know, hopefully you'll start recognizing that there are themes to an image. You know, that maybe they speak about serenity or loneliness or strength, or maybe they exalt form, or maybe they speak about volume. So many qualities that you can find in great images. So many. But perhaps, you know, among those very many qualities that a great image has, you and your sensibility is actually reacting to a couple. You know, and maybe you can start kind of weeding things out and saying, okay, these three things actually, you know, kind of anchor that image for me. And without those three things, I realized that I wouldn't have liked this particular image. And I think that that's like the core of the responsibility of being an artist and training ourselves visually. That's at the core of that responsibility that we have with ourselves. Not to be just this kind of blind groupie that just loves anything that she or he does, but just saying, okay, let me go deeper, and let me see why this really great image resonates with me. You know, what is it that's making it resonate with me? And hopefully, if you're able to identify those things, you'll see that if the artist was successful at it, and hopefully you chose like a really good image and the artist was indeed successful, that you realize that they were able to marry those themes with the execution. So usually what happens is that people can speak about things that move you and they execute them in a way that heightens those themes, and that's where a successful kind of image resides in. The fact that you can technically sort of empower those themes and say, let's say you are working from life and the act of representing faithfully nature is just like incredibly hard. But let's just say that something in nature moved you in a way that you had to describe and interpret nature differently. And at that moment, you have the task to say, okay, how do I technically solve this problem? How do I mix colors or treat edges or control contrast or arrange shapes in a way that my painting or my drawing can speak about how I feel about what I'm looking at? That is where style comes from. It doesn't come from looking at anyone else. It doesn't. That's going to be a circuit, a closed circuit. You're going to go round and round your whole life until you find somebody else that you can jump on their back and then go round and round again. If you're looking for something that is purely defined as a style, but if you just concentrate on working in the manner of. So concentrate on yourself. Concentrate on your own sensibility. Concentrate on what moves you. Try to solve the problem of how to interpret, these things that are moving you into painting. That's a lifelong journey. That's a road worth walking in. That leads to somewhere. And it's an amazing path to take. It's a super exciting path to take, and it's your own. And while you're walking on this path, you can say, wow, I'm surrounded by beautiful images that other people have created. But you're going to be walking in your path. I found a poem, and it's actually like the second verse of a poem. It's a Buddhist poem, and I think it speaks beautifully about searching for style, this kind of unnerving searching, this very urgent sense of kind of searching for style. And this is the second verse, and it has like a broader context because it's actually speaking about kind of like the inner light and the Dharma body. So how the universe is actually kind of all-encompassing, but it's also in the smallest part. And every bit of the universe contains the universe. So contextually, they're speaking about searching for that kind of inner light, that inner meaning. But let's replace that, which is like far more spiritual, but in a way, we can think that echoes into artistic personality. Who am I as an artist? Which is not that far from who am I. So I would just ask all of you to think, just take the as an artist out of it. So who am I as an artist? Who am I? So instead of thinking of artistic personality, think of what's my personality? And perhaps that's a little bit easier to answer, because most of us, I would think, and sometimes we're afraid of just admitting who we are, but I think we recognize who we are. You know, some people are very loud and outgoing, and some people are, you know, shy and introvert. That first step in recognizing who we are is the biggest step you can take in recognizing the style, the quote-unquote style of your work. Because when you recognize yourself, then trying to solve how to make painting work for you in exalting your personality is going to be much easier and much more powerful than just saying, wow, did you see what she painted? You know, she did a killer painting. Like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to slightly tweak it so it kind of looks like my own. Nah, that doesn't work like that. So let me give you the second verse of this poem, which I think it's like amazing. So this is, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, Yung-Chia Ta-Shih. It is only when you hunt for it that you lose it. You cannot take hold of it, but equally you cannot get rid of it. And while you can do neither, it goes on its way. You remain silent and it speaks. You speak and it is dumb. I think it's amazing. I think it speaks about how this active pursuit of this thing that we are so wanting is the only way not to get there. And it feels so weird. I know it kind of doesn't make sense, but it actually does. Because that path that is so apparent, that is so right there in front of us, that seemingly shows us, you know, oh, you want to find your own style? Well, look at this. You know, these are the 20 people you like. Just put them all in a blender and just extract all these things that you like from them. And there you go. That's your style. It's a melting pot. And I used to believe that when I was younger. I used to believe all I need to do is just put all this stuff in a blender and then kind of strain it, and then that's me. You know, you take away the pulp, and the juice is there. That juice is, you know, that power drink is me, you know. And it doesn't work that way. When you actually strain those things, when you put them through a strainer, and you take all the pulp out, that's actually what mattered. That's actually what kept all those paintings together. You know, all the important stuff that actually held the images that you loved together, that was right there. And that's the stuff that your juicer actually just throws away. So what we need to do is not just put all that shit together and say, okay, I'm a compilation of all this crap. No. You enjoy all those things. You're moved by all those things. That's great. That's beautiful. But then why are you moved by them? And in asking why, you're going to recognize yourself. And when you recognize yourself, you know, you can actually begin to have a conversation with your tools. That's when you can understand your intent. And then when you have that conversation with your tools and you're just begging your paint, it's like, I want to say this. Help me say this. Or at least give me a couple of hours where you can teach me how to look for this. And maybe your painting in those couple of hours, you know, was not successful, but you gave yourself a chance to learn from that experience. That is the search that matters. So whenever you're thinking of style, don't land on what is so easily available to you. You know, it's just like, oh, you work in the style of, oh, your work looks like such and such. Oh, your work reminds me of such and such. You know, maybe some of those things are inevitable because there's been so many artists throughout history that it's almost impossible to look like brand new. You know, and that's fine, and I know there's a pressure to that. But know that getting there is not through just the adoration of these wonderful works of art. No. We have to look somewhere else. And hopefully, in looking somewhere else, you know, we actually forget about this search of style. And, you know, when we least expect it, we are working in a manner that we can only and inevitably call our own. And I know it sounds weird, but that is probably the most earnest answer I can tell people when they say, how do you get there? How do you get to that place? And my answer would be, I wouldn't know, because that's not, I walked my road, but I don't know what your road kind of entails. I don't know the things that you are going to have to deal with in the path that you decide to walk. But only you can have that conversation with yourself. So, quickest way to get to your own personal style is stop looking and just start living. So, thank you guys. I'll see you later.